For the inquiry, I've had an email, a guy up in Ireland, obviously in IT, and he wants to go now being self-employed, working for himself. And I thought it had lots of questions written in there and stuff, and I wanted to sort of like go through a bit like what I did on my changes. So I was lucky enough to become where I was working for a full-time IT company, just like yourself, and the company grew, and then obviously it started. Um, I think that's when the market changed, where everyone was buying direct rather than going through resellers and stuff. So our company took a massive effect on that and had to start closing down, trying to stay open and letting people go left, right, and centre. And I was lucky enough to be let go basically, so I had to sign on to a point, very much over a period of time, to sign on. And I sat there thinking, what do I do next? What do I do next? And I was doing like little jobs, like you do homeless and stuff like that. But what about getting into full, self-employed, literally doing it? Lucky enough, the self-employed company had at the job office had it's like a course that gets you back into being self-employed, working for yourself or running a business. And what they do is they set your bank account up, which you both sign on the account, so that you can't draw money unless they authorize it. And you go to these like weekly meetings, talk about your business plan, things like that. So that's what helped me getting into it. But it's quite easy to change over, but because you're going from literally a full-time job to self-employed, it's going to be a big jump, especially if you've got no sort of like clients you could take with you. Because sometimes, and it's worth speaking to your company, because the company I used to work for used to do the same. We used to have lots of engineers that work in full-time engineers. There were different type level engineers, some were consultancies, things like that. But when they got fed up of being employed by a company, they used to go to the company, the company I was working for, and say, we would like to go self-employed. So they helped, because some IT companies don't just employed people; they may contract other people in as extra, just in case they get extra workload on they don't have the staff for. Now they may be able to help you sort of go take that route. Say, look, we can offer you 12 months of self-employment work with a couple of customers of ours. How's that to get you going? Then that way you got a stepping stone of like doing that work, knowing you got an income for it, and then alongside that, give you a bit more free time to sort of think, okay, I can start now bidding for new customers. And never know, that company they've given you may actually be your long-term client going forward. Other ways you can actually do it is by working full-time employment. Is obviously go part-time, which is going to obviously it's going to hit you with money issues, because obviously everyone's got to pay bills, everyone's got rent to worry about and stuff like that. But if you can go part-time, drop some hours down, giving you enough time to look at other work, find other work in it and stuff, rather than try and find work that's going to get you installing switches and things like that. Focus on companies out there, and there's loads of companies out there are looking for support contracts to support the customers. Because if you can get up to at least one supported contract, that'd be worth literally half of your income. Basically, then you can decide to say, now I've got this on, and I've got him signed up for 2 years on a support contract. I can now take my full-time employment off, out, just give it up, and then all I've got to do is find out other client that come on board that will make my income back up. Then when you get a third, fourth, or fifth client on board, then you start making money for yourself as well as your company you want to grow going forward. That may be the best part, because there's lots of IT companies out there bidding for work. There's lots of small businesses out there looking for IT support contracts, but they're not looking for expensive ones, especially around the London area. Because it's London, because businesses are high, IT companies are looking to charge a lot of money to get those in the bag. But the companies in London don't, just because they turn over a lot of money doesn't mean they are looking for somebody that's got a high value uh, support contract. They will still take the small contracts. So if you can prove yourself, which very much is selling yourself, and obviously you've got skills, even ask your company to go. Well, it's a bit difficult because you're employed. Um, is obviously customers you work for, try to get to give them a bit of a testimonial, a little write up to sort of say, well, add that to my CV and keep my CV updated, and at least you can use that going forward. But mainly it's just setting stuff out there, going to the support contracts, maybe take a day or two when you get a meeting with them to go and discuss the support contract and stuff like that. Look at what's around you, what IT companies are charging on support contracts, and undercut them. because it's all about business. Business is business at the end of the day. If you can make a saving for a company that needs an IT person to look after them, they'll snap you up like anything. Tie them into like a 1 or 2 year contract, 'cause that's what most IT companies tend to do these days. Then at least you know you've got a secure income for at least 12 months plus, and that way it gives you the additional time to go and find other work to build, because the more IT contracts you've got to support, the bigger income you can get. So you'll also want to work out like what would I here's some tips here. What am I willing to work for per day? What's the minimum would I work for per day? So for instance, for me, I would look at £40 per day. If I was on a day on site, I had no work, and somebody said to me, I'll give you 40 quid, work for me for a day on IT, I will snap that up. I definitely will snap that up, because that's a bit more than a normal 9 to 5 job at Tesco's or Sainsbury's or working in a shop, basically, you know. And then look at what you are worth, depending on your skills, depending on how much IT background you've got, and also what qualifications you've got. So a lot of engineers can be booked out to customer sites, especially companies that I used to work for. You used to book engineers out between £250 per day up to £1,000 per day. So £1,000 per day will be your consultant role. Mid-range will be sort of high-level engineer, and low end will be basic engineer, £250 per day. So that gives you sort of ideas. But then you need to work out, like for I say, work out what you're willing to work minimum for, what maximum you will work for. What would people pay to have you on site? Things like that. So I would generally I would sort of like say my top is like between 295 and 395, depending on the typical job you're doing, because obviously that will state a different role. Doing server install, setting up stuff like that, probably look at 395 per day, because you can't guarantee what would happen in a day. Could you get that server set up, installed? But you always find with Windows, there's always issues around. So I normally do 2 days to install at 395 per day. That's pay covers everything then. And I normally say to customers, if I get that server installed within 2 days I suggested, it doesn't matter if it takes 3-4 days, there'll be no extra charge. I'll get that in there for you to make sure it works as a guarantee. Same for you, guaranteeing your work. So if you are good as you are, you should still get it in that time you stated. So there's sort of things you need to look for, what the companies are willing to pay, because companies don't want to be paying thousands of pounds. If you're charging a support contract between £1,000 and £2,000 per month for around about say 30 users, then they may just get an employment somebody at a low level engineer come in full time, sat in a desk in the corner, saying your role is, if customers need printed ink changes, server related issues, your job is that. Then you should know somebody's on site and you've got that value because someone's there. Whereas an IT support company, because you don't see them from days to months, and you're paying all this money out, you're thinking, well, what am I paying this money out for when I don't really see it? So you got to bring your value down, but enough to do it. So I have a very baseline figure around how many users support per month. But basically, sometimes you can have more users than PCs in an office. So I tend to look at what the workstations are. So you've got 25 users, for instance, or 30 users, and you've got 30 PCs for each one of those, and then base those figures on there. But there's no point basing figures on 40 people, there's only like 30 PCs for, because you're supporting the PCs, not the person. Because obviously the person don't have a PC and don't work with a PC, then there's no support you can give them or help them out, or an application, because they're not using an application. So it's sensible. It's not why IT companies tend to look at how many employees they are rather than how many physical machines they're supporting. And obviously there's another charge you will put on top on the servers you support and cover, which I tend to do £50 per server. If there's more than one servers, then I will then do a discount. So I'm showing, because I always put my feet in their shoes. What would I pay for an engineer to look after me for 4 years or 2 years? What have I got, and things like that, and what would I willing to pay out as well? So it's always look at those. It's a guessing game, but it's working out your code, or how I can explain. It's working out your ethics. So basically, I will charge minimum £40 per day, being on site. But if I get away paying a normal rate, that'd be great. So every customer is slightly different. So you might have a customer that's got lots of money to spend, happy to spend it and do it, then you can rate your normal rate for it. If you've got companies that are really tight for money, but you want them on board as your clients, then you're willing to sort of rank it down a bit as well. So there's those out there. There's always companies that out there always looking to save. So once you've got that middle line basically between the companies, then you've got your pricing right, and you'll win lots and lots of contracts. So get as many contracts as you can in there, not to the point where you could, well, probably to get many contracts in there, you can hire loads more people in and actually build your company up into a full IT company. I very much was the same. Started very small, got a few of those contracts in place, got a little bit bigger than what I needed, brought some more people on board. The way I did it, I actually got other IT companies involved, did some deals with them with hosting side I did, which they gave me free level access of engineers that I could use for projects that I couldn't manage physically, so I could pass them around. Because it's good to tie with somebody else with another IT company, saying like, if I get stuck, can you help me out? I got skills here you haven't got, so vice versa. That's really nice. You can balance between it, but you'll get that building up as you're going forwards. Looking at structured, get your pricing right, and you should be good to go. So that's what I would do. Just quick summary: I would either go part-time, so it gives you more hours to spend finding these customers. Speak to your company to see if they'll allow you to go self-employed with them, to get into that role, basically, see if they would help. If you don't really want to talk to your company and touch base with those, then it's looking at what hours have I got free if I'm still working full-time. Well, could I chop back a few hours and give me an extra day in a week free to myself to use that day to find customers, or do I sacrifice and just literally end the day and just go it all full whack, or just use the weekends. Weekends are really hard to do weekend work because a lot of IT companies out there have clients that they're already charged to, and a lot of companies that are looking for new contracts or renewal contracts, they're already in play with an IT company, so it's very hard to find those weekend jobs unless you got a pipeline of clients that already know you. Then that's great. Get your weekends filled up, and as soon as you know you're working, making lots of money, making more money than say half your income, then start looking at taking your employment back and say, I'm going to work part-time, or I'm just going to give it up, because then you'll have enough. If you've got enough, to be honest, I think if you rate your money right and you do all the weekends, you should have enough money to replace your monthly income at least. Depends what level of money you're paying. If you're consultants for a company, it's much more difficult. But if you're doing a lot of like IT installs, rolling out at weekends, unsocial hours, that's probably the best way of doing it. Get those on board for enough to fill you up your own income, and then get rid of the job at the end of the day and go full whack into it. So I'm hoping this a bit sort of helpful tips that help you. Other than that, if you've got any more questions, email me again, and see if anything that I may have missed, specifically let me know in an email, and I can target that sort of questioning as well. Because there's lots of different ways I would do it. I mean, I was lucky enough to become unemployed, so then I had time on my hands to think about what I wanted to do and how to get into IT. It took me 2 years to really establish myself, because I had no money backing like I used to be. And then after I had like, a good 20 years of really, really good income. At one stage, I was making like 20,000 a week on a big project. That's fantastic. So it's enjoyable, and I love the idea of like finding a customer, winning that. Send me an email, and maybe I can help you out as well. If you're looking for an IT company to take over and do some work, or looking for contracts locally, I'm based around Camberley, London area. Stop calling me, somebody. Get in touch with me. Like this video, thumbs up. Don't like this video, thumbs down. Remember, hit that subscribe button down the bottom there somewhere, and I will see you on the next video. And I'll probably do another video to sort of make this one better, because this was a bit hit or miss. I didn't plan it well, did I? But anyway, hope it makes